Charity shop shocked as Bible sells for £56,000. There's the headline. Sadly, it wasn't me that sold a book for 56 grand. That would have been quite nice. Would have sorted out a few business upgrades as we go along, but that wasn't the case. Anyway, my name is Ian. I sell books on eBay and on Vinted. Not for 56 grand yet. And welcome to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. For 70 odd days, I did these videos every single day, just sharing the sales, chatting about books, and I've had a bit of a week. We'll come back to that 56 grand sale in a wee second. But yeah, it has been a bit of a week. I have a plan on how to scale this business further. And I've just been waiting for a few things to fall into place so that I could really start working on that plan. And they have begun to now fall into place so I can start taking steps forward. But it's just meant that I've had to spend a few days really cramming in lots of other things, which means, for the most part, getting all my shipping and everything done like very first thing in the morning, which means I've got no time to stop and run through the sales. And it's just ended up taking a bit of a bye for the last week or so. So, apologies for that. I've missed you guys, but I'm back. And I hope you're back as well. I've got a few eBay sales today. I've got a few Vinted sales today. Sales have been gradually increasing, mostly due to listing more stuff, particularly on Vinted, and really narrowing down what I'm putting on eBay to try and maximise the number of customers that eBay give you every single day. And it's beginning to work. It's beginning to pay dividends. It's not quite where it needs to be yet, but it's getting an awful lot closer. But let's get back to this book, man. BBC News. This popped up yesterday on one of my feeds. What was it? I'm guessing it was Oxfam. Yeah, Oxfam in Chelmsford. Somebody handed in a book a couple of years ago that they picked out a couple of years ago, thinking, oh, that might be worth something, and it has just gone up for auction. It was a copy of the first Bible written in Chinese from 1815. So quite obviously a rare text. Probably took them a wee while to work out what it is, and it sold for just over £56,000, £56,280. But that wasn't the only one they had. They also had a first edition of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, which went for 16 grand. A Dickens autograph quoting the same book for 12 grand. A first edition of Karl Marx's Manifesto of the Communist Party for 10,000, and a signed copy of Matilda by Roald Dahl for £2,300. So that's a lot of money from a handful of books that have been handed into charity shops. Now there's two things in that. The first is, it just shows that you never know what value you're going to find if you're going around charity shops, car boot sales, jumble sales, whatever it might be. You might stumble onto something that has quite a good bit of value for the price you would potentially pay for it. There's always a chance that that's going to happen, and it's something that I've benefited from once or twice. Not to the extent of any of those kind of values, but a nice set of antiquarian books that I paid a reasonable price for, sold for £280. First edition copies of like contemporary books selling for £200. These things happen. I had a copy of The Algebraist by Ian Banks, a signed edition that sold just over the weekend there. Unfortunately, I haven't got it here to show you because it's already been shipped off. That sold for £95. And, most of these come from pretty low value pickups. I do pay more for some books, but my buy average, because I buy so many books really, really cheap, it's still round about 25 pence a book. So I just average that for working out my costs and sales and all the rest of it. So yeah, it just shows that there is potential to find some absolutely banging items out there. Admittedly, things like that, the charity shops will usually notice that they're a bit different and have a look and see what they're about. So you're not likely to walk into your local Oxfam shop and pick up a 56 grand Bible for a couple of quid. It's probably not going to happen, but there could be stuff in there that for that kind of value where, initially, I think they said it was initially valued at around 800. So you see in the Oxfam shops especially, I see a lot of books that they've put in for 50, 100, £150, typically antiquarian, but there might be some in there that are actually worth considerably more and could be worth that investment if you then want to wait long enough to get the right specialty auction or find the right customer online and sell them that way. So it's a good thing to see. The second point that jumped into my head when I was reading this story was, I haven't seen any in a wee while admittedly, but there was a wee spate of videos that kept popping up on my feed on YouTube, and it was people having a go at resellers for taking money away from the charity shops. They've gone in and they've spent a couple of quid on something and sold it for 50, £100, made a nice wee profit, which is great, and saying that's not fair, that money should go back to the charity shops because the item was donated to them. If that's the case, surely, when we're talking about, that's like £100,000 that Oxfam store made from those book sales at that auction. That's a life-changing amount of money. And it could have been across 5 or 6 different people, but even a couple of £1,000s, the lowest value book there for the Roald Dahl Matilda, even that is potentially a life-changing amount of money for the vast majority of the public in the UK and across the world, let's be honest. So should they not then be going back and finding the people who donated that? It's probably tracked. Most people, the gift aid, blah, 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 they know what's going on with it. Should they not be going back, finding those people and saying, by the way, here's 50 grand. That book you had was ridiculous. They can take a small donation for the shop. But if resellers are robbing the charities by buying stuff for what they have priced it at and willingly sold it at, and then making a much, much bigger profit, surely exactly the same stands for that. That if, somebody's handed in something like that and it's sold for £50,000, they should be tracking that person down and going, here, pay off your mortgage, put your kids through university, whatever it might be, because that's a life-changing amount of money. Anyway, that's just my thinks and thoughts on it. Certainly I know my granny, many years ago, she used to volunteer in a charity shop down in Clarkston, and a widow, her husband had died, she'd cleared out, she'd handed in some of his old suits, and in one of the suit pockets there was about £4,500 in cash. So did they go, oh, that was very generous of you, and put it in the till? No, they went back to the woman and said, by the way, there was £4,500 cash in that suit pocket, here you go. And I think she gave them a few £100, and the rest obviously went back to the family, as it should. So when it's things like that, should the charity shops make some sort of an effort to track down the person that donated that and say, by the way, here's your life-changing, lottery-winning amount of money? I don't know. What do you think? Anyway, the most exciting thing about it is it does show that there are things out there that you can pick up relatively cheap and turn a nice profit on. Those are very exceptional circumstances, but there's a lot of stuff that's much, much more middle of the road. And that's, let's say, that's a lot of what I sell. I've got a huge stack of stuff here to run through with you. I've been changing up my routine, as I said, to try and make the day as efficient as possible, which means doing a lot of Vinted listing first thing in the morning. So I get all the listings created, so all I need to do is take the photos and scan the barcodes, and then they can go off to storage, which means I've got about 50 books that have been input and are waiting for pictures on my desk here, but they take up a lot of space where I would normally stack all my sold stuff to show you guys, etc. So it's all just a wee bit out of sync. But that said, let's see if we can go through and show you what we have sold. What will we do first? Let us go to Vinted. So as I said, we've got a few good sales on Vinted. Quite a number of books. And I'm just working out where to put them once I've shown them to you, because I'm stuck in a wee tiny space here, because I've got stuff waiting to be listed, and it's chaos. But for £1.25, Fiona Shaw, Tell It to the Bees. We've got the postage labels already in it. because one of the efficiencies I've been trying was I got a new printer. I've got an HP black and white laser printer thing that I've been using for years. It prints, obviously, A4 and will churn out 4 labels on a sheet for me that way. Since selling so much more on Vinted, it's 1 label at a time. So I haven't been able to use that for my label printing because it ends up in an enormous amount of waste. You know, you're paying 10, 12 pence per label just to put it on a parcel, which is not good sense at all if you're selling things for £1. You know, that's just ridiculous. So it's been getting printed onto A4 paper and then folded and taped on to the parcels, which is okay when you've got 3 or 4 parcels to do, but when you've got 20 or 30 parcels to do, that adds on quite a chunk of time to your day every day. I'm reckoning it be an extra 10-15 minutes every single time I have to do that volume of parcels. And that's not a huge amount of parcels. I would be wanting to do an awful lot more. So that is beginning to add up, eat into time, and it's a pain in the backside, to be perfectly honest. So I finally bit the bullet and bought myself a wee label printer. So it just arrived yesterday. Got it set up. The quality on it is not great, but you get what you pay for, you know. So I have fingers crossed that when I drop the first load of parcels off today that have those labels on them, that they scan in okay and there's no issues. Otherwise I need to get it sent back today and spend 3 times as much on one that's halfway decent, which I'm not going to do at the moment. I'll go back to printing it on A4 paper. But yeah, that's why it's got a label in it already, because that's one of the ones I was testing it on. So Tell It to the Bees by Fiona Shaw for £1.25 using my new labelly thing. Then we have a bundle of 18. Now I'm not going to pull this full bundle over to show you because they're stuck at the back. They're all by the same author. And it is Kathy Reichs. Why do I not know how to say any author's names? This is code, but there's 18 in total. I had a stack of these on eBay, 30, 40 books on one of the multi-listings. Nobody ever bought them. I mean, maybe 1 or 2 sales over about a year and a half. So months ago, I took them all down because it was just using up my listing allowance. They weren't doing anything. It was part of the decluttering of eBay. And then they've just sat in a big pile waiting to get listed somewhere else. And yesterday, I saw them again and thought, right, I'm just going to get them done. So I pulled out single copies of each title, listed up 18 of them, and about an hour later, somebody came in and bought all 18. So there you go, eBay versus Vinted. There's things going on. So I've got more, obviously, to list because there's a lot of duplicate titles there. So I'm going to list some more of them probably today and see if that was a one-off or whether Kathy Reichs is actually quite popular. But 18 of them sold for £23.75. Right. That's the second sale. Next we've got 6 kids books for £10.25. £10.25 for 6 kids books. And they're all little board books. We've got The Gruffalo's Child, Julia Donaldson. Then 3 by Yi Shanwu, I don't know how you say it. And it's the Who Said series, Woof, Moo, what does that say? Cheap. 3 of them, all good condition. Kids books, you really want them to be very good condition. 10 Little Pirates, again a really popular series. They always seem to sell quite well whenever I pick them up. And another 2 Julia Donaldson books, but they're in a little box set, so that's sold as one item. And it's The Singing Mermaid and The Rhyming Rabbit, so a tenner for those little books. I did list 50 or 60 kids books a couple of weeks ago, and there's maybe only a dozen left. I've got another 300 to list, and I keep thinking, right, I'll just do a day where it's all kids books and just get them all uploaded, and I've not got around to that yet. But it's again like the Kathy Reichs books, I want to do that soon and see if we can keep momentum going on those. I don't want to clutter up like a day's worth of listings with one type of thing, because that maybe chase off other potential buyers. I don't know. I'll need to decide how to filter them and maybe chuck in 20 a day and see how that works. Anywho, a bundle of 8 for a tenner. Is this the right 8 I'm looking at here? Yes, it is. So, took an offer. Full price, these would have been $13.25. Took an offer for a tenner. Someone's getting a wee bit of a discount, so that's always nice. And we had some nice books, right enough. Paul Ham, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Obviously about the bombing done by the Americans. Hereward, The Last Englishman by Peter Rex. P.T. King. Then we've got The Dawn of Everything by David Graeber and David Wengrow. Wengrow. There we go, that one. Tegana, Guy Gabriel Kay, wee fantasy. The Sisters Brothers by Patrick DeWitt. Quite enjoyed that film. Haven't read the book. Adrian Goldsworthy, Augustus. I didn't know Augustus wrote a book about Adrian Goldsworthy, but you know. Orwell, 1984, which just keeps selling, and Huxley, Brave New World. So, a tenner for that little bundle there. It's a couple of nice books in that. A bundle of 3, Anna Todd, the After series. So I've got a few sets of these. They've been listed on eBay as a set. Nobody wants to buy them for no matter how cheap. So I took down one set. Well, I reduced the quantity by one and stuck a few of them onto Vinted as single books. One of them sold straight away, and then that's another 3 have gone. So we've got After We Fell, After We Collided, and After Ever Happy, which seems a bit backwards, but I'm sure it was meant to be. And the 3 of them sold for a whopping £3.60. Oh, money's money. Single books for £2. Churchill's D-Day. Precariously piling here. For £2, The Disappeared by Patrick O'Rourke. I'm not going to try and say the Gaelic version of that. We've got Jojo Moyes, Someone Else's Shoes, £1.25. 2 Darren Shan books for £2. There we go, some vampire books. What ones was it? The Vampire Prince and Hunters of the Dark. So there we go, Vampires at War series there. Then Outlander, Yo Gabba Gabba. There we go, that was £1.50. Oh, that pile's just wobbling everywhere. We've got Cathy Glass, Cruel to Be Kind, another very popular author, £1.25. And I think this is the last Vinted one. The Kissing Booth by Beth Reekles. There we go. And again, £1 and 10 pence. I don't know why I said it again, £1 and 10 pence, because that's all there is. So that's sales from over the last almost full day. It's alright. It's not been the busiest day I've had in the last few on Vinted, but still, they just keep on going. As usual, Sunday always seems to get a lot of offers in, and then people don't buy the books if you accept them. So we'll wait and see if that ever changes. We've got a couple. What's that? Nope. Is that one of them? Nope. So yeah, about 8 bundles people asked for that I've accepted the offers on, and we'll wait and see if I actually buy them today. If they'd bought them all yesterday, that would have been quite a very good day worth of sales. But Sunday, that always seems to be the case. People must browse on a Sunday and then change their mind when they realise that they've got to go back to work tomorrow and they're never going to get all of those books that they've ordered read. eBay. What happened on eBay yesterday? So eBay has been slowly recovering over the last week and a half. I've still not been listing a lot, but I have been listing anything that's got a value and is worth selling individually on its own. So $7.99 is kind of my minimum for a single book, and anything less than that, I might as well stick it in Vinted for a couple of quid. It'll sell quicker. And also making sure that I'm keeping some of my multi-listings that sell well populated. So when there's books coming in, they don't go on Vinted, they get added to that multi-listing and keep things ticking over there. Nothing new in those particular bundle listings and who they are, but like I say, I just keep them stacked up and moving. Anyway, I don't have things in a very good order here, so I'll need to scoot back and forth on my wee app to find what things are. And the first one we'll go for is for £14.97. 5 Lee Child paperbacks. I didn't have a Lee Child listing for a wee while because I was trying different things, and I know it's a popular, quite good selling author, so I've been trying different things to see how to maximise what's going on, and this is what I've settled on. Seems to be the best way of doing it. So £14.97 for those 5 books off of Ye Old Multi-Listing. Then we'll go all the way back to the other end for £15.29. We've got 5 Denise Mina hardcover books. Got quite a few Denise Mina titles. Mina, they don't sell very well for me anyway. I made that up as a bundle quite a while ago, and that's it, just sold now for 15 quid. And it'll be an expensive poster. That's going to be over 2 kilos to post, but it's still going to be, let's have a wee look what we actually made off of that. So we get 13 quid from eBay once they've taken their fees, about a fiver, so let's call it 6 quid to get it posted. So what's that, £7 for 5 books? Yeah, it's the same as the Vinted money, but I'm glad that they've sold on eBay because it keeps a bit of traction going on that particular platform. Next we have another pre-made bundle. So quite a few of these I've got here now are recent listings. The Lee Child's a fairly recent listing. I've just kind of put that one back up. This one is as well. Scarlet and Ivy, books 1 to 6. There we go. So it's that kind of teenager mystery stuff. Newly Veiled Threats, a cryptic letter and secrets to uncover. Rookwood is in real danger this time. The 6 of them went for £12.99. So I'm happy with that. Right, let's wriggle through to the next bundle, which is, now I listed these yesterday and they sold almost straight away, and that always makes you think, oh, I should have asked for more. But to be honest, I'm quite happy to get things moving fast. So somebody gets a bargain, whether they're going to make even more money off them or whether they've just got themselves a personal buy bargain, I don't really care. But it's an author which I know always sells well. Sells well in bundles, especially sequential bundles. There we go, it's LJ Ross, books 11 to 18. A lot of these sell individually for £6-7, even pre-owned, in pretty good condition, and I don't really understand why, because you can buy them anywhere for less than that, other than on eBay. So 8 of them, I thought, right, 40 quid, and I thought, nah, let's do 32. So £32, £4 a book on eBay, and let's say they sold almost as soon as I got them listed, which is good because I did a wee pickup yesterday, and it wasn't much. It was a pretty slim pickings. It didn't take much time, to be honest. I think I spent 30 quid on about 80, 90 books and 50-ish DVDs. I don't buy DVDs very often at all because I've got thousands to work through. But there was a wee stack and there was a couple in it that looked kind of interesting, so I just grabbed a few, added them to my pile. And right enough, there's about £70, £80 worth of DVDs from that stack of 50. There's maybe like 8 which are all worth a wee bit of money themselves, and the rest are all just for something else that I'm working on. So £30 spent yesterday, a £32 sale almost straight away when I got in the door from that pickup is good. I ain't made 32 quid on that. What have I actually made? Let's have a wee look. What are eBay giving me once they've taken their cut? So £27.71, £5.50-ish to post it, so we'll call it £6 to allow for all the packaging. So £21 back on that bundle. So I only need to sell another £9 worth of stuff, £9 worth of profit. So 9 of those other 80 odd books that I got on Vinted for £1 each, and that's me broken even on yesterday's pickup, which is always where I like to be. You know, what's in that that's going to turn a quick buck, and then the rest can just trickle in, and it's where all your profit comes from. So yeah, LJ Ross, 8 books, £32, and they're all in good condition. That definitely helps. Right, next we've got a stack of 5. Now, I've got one nice wee sale, but I'm just going to balance that there. You'll be able to, if you've got sharp eyes, you'll be able to see what it's going to be. But first, I'm going to grab some Wilburs. There you go. 5 bright and shiny Wilbur Smith paperbacks. What did Wilbur sell for? I can't remember what price structure I've got Wilbur on. Let's have a quick nosy in an ebb. Yeah, $12.99 for 5 books. This is really not great, and I've got a feeling they're going to be a heavy load. So I get £11 back from eBay, £5-6 to post them. I'm getting a £5 for 5 books. It's not very good, but it's money in it, you know. Things keep selling. And the other order, which is very similar, it's another of my popular authors, and it's Mr. John Grisham. So there's 4 there. And there's the 5th. 5 John Grishams, £14.97. So I keep meaning to go and change Wilbur over to that price structure as well, because it seems to sell just as well as one that gives me $12.99 in. It's just trying to work in that whole psychology of the sale. So yeah, £13 for the Wilburs, £15 for the John Grisham, and these are the ones that, like I say, the sales on those particular authors just keep ticking over. They've never, it did get quiet for a while, but they've never really died away. So those are the listings that I just keep adding to and keep them all running. And I've got one more eBay sale. Again, a recent listing. I showed you these the other day when I picked them up, I think. It's the Alfred Hitchcock's 3 Investigators bundle. So 1, 2, 3. Can't go any higher, so we'll about to do 4. There you go. This is them all. I'm just showing you them all. It's a bundle of Alfred Hitchcock's 3 Investigators books, and the last one, which was the most valuable if you were looking at them individually, and it's a Armada 3-in-1. There we go. And that lot sold for, let's make sure I get this right, £40. And it's heading overseas somewhere. Where are we going? US, it's going to the States. So la 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 America. La 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 America. La 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 America. La la la, you know what I mean. So that's £33.49 coming back from eBay in that lot. £3 to post it. So £30 for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I knew there was 8, but I was just making sure I picked up all 8 of them. 8 books, cost me £2, thereabouts, and I'm making £30 back on it. So, am I robbing from the charity shops? Or did they sell them to me at the price they were happy to sell them at? And I've made a profit. If I have to give that £30 to the charity shop, Oxfam need to give that 50 grand back to whoever had the Bible. Yeah, see how I came full circle there? Aye. Right, that's all I've got for today. I need to get this lot packed up and shipped out. I need to finish up some more listings. I've just grabbed another 100 or so, a couple of bags worth of books to get listed up, as well as all the kids' books I was talking about. So yeah, a lot to do, but things are moving very much in the right direction to allow me to scale this business. At the moment, yeah, it's set up as a business, but it's not a business, it's a job. I work for myself, so I do a job 7 days a week. however many hours a day, and make very little money from it. But that's because I take a very small salary. I take the absolute minimum I can so that the rest can stay in the business, and try and find that scalable route. The way it's working at the moment, the ideal would be 3 months, which, let's wind this back a wee bit. Beginning of last November, kind of October, November, sales had got consistently to a point where I needed 3 months to then take the next step with this business. If those sales remained consistent, even without them improving, in that kind of Q4 bump that we always get, even without any uplift there, about 3 months would have allowed me to bank enough into the business that I could take the next step. And then everything just died. It crashed, it died. Looking back, it was absolutely horrific the way that turned. But I've now got things back to, money coming into the business roughly where it was at that point. It's a wee bit down, but it's almost the same. It's requiring more effort because so much of that money's coming in through Vinted, and Vinted just takes more time and effort. It's as simple as that, which is probably why it's a more successful platform at the moment, because big people who want to do big bulk things can't. So if you're willing to put in the graft, the reward is there. So now that I've got back to that stage, 3 to 4 months, I should, if things remain consistent, and there's absolutely no guarantee of that whatsoever, as we all know, but if things can remain fairly consistent for that period, getting towards the end of the summer, I will be in a position to take the next step. And it's quite exciting when you get to that point where you can actually see being able to achieve some of your goals. But it does mean for that period, I've got to work my arse off in very, very limited space to keep that going and maintain that. If it was where we were last year, I spent half the time making the same amount of money because it was all coming in on eBay. So it is an awful lot more, which is what making getting these videos out regularly a lot more difficult, just trying to juggle and match the days in. But I'm going to try and keep them going as often as I can. Every day was always optimistic, but it was part of my daily routine, so that was okay. We'll just need to see where it goes from there. Anyway, that is all for today. Thank you for coming back and seeing me again. It's been lovely to see you all. And hopefully, if not tomorrow, I'll see you on Friday. No, I'll be back as soon as I can. But yeah, I'll see you all soon. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. Bye-bye.